You ever get accused of a crime just for living your life? No? Well, buckle up, because the morning I got the sheriff called on me for fishing with my own kid, that's when everything flipped upside down. You know that moment, right? When you realize the enemy isn't some stranger out there, but the neighbor with the welcome sign and a file full of violations. Yeah, that happened. And let me tell you, I was not about to let some HOA wannabe queen run me off my own land. The sky over Lost Timber Lake was still the color of old slate when I stepped onto the dock, my son Colton at my side. Cold as hell, too. The kind of morning where the air stings your nostrils and your breath curls up around your face. We're talking pine boards, old as sin, creaking under our boots, and a lake so still you'd swear it was holding its breath. Mist drifted low, and all you could smell was clean, mineral cold, the scent of real, honest quiet. Colton, just 11, but already with that quiet focus you only see in kids who've been through some stuff, sat down next to me. His boots kicked softly against the dock as he threaded his line, hands sure, like he'd been born fishing. "Dad, think we'll catch something before breakfast?" he asked, not taking his eyes off the water. I grinned. "Always do," I told him, letting my own line slip in with a soft plop. For a few sweet minutes, it was nothing but the ripple of the bobber and a heron croaking out in the reeds. I moved us out here after the divorce, hoping for exactly this, just a worn old cabin, 8 acres of lakefront, and enough quiet for a man to hear his own thoughts again. Didn't know how much I needed it until it was right there. And then, because life never lets peace sit too long, I heard it. Tires grinding on gravel, slow and heavy. Colton glanced back, and I could see the worry on his face even before the cruiser pulled up. Sheriff's car. At dawn. My stomach sank, but I didn't move. Sheriff Cody Rand stepped out, hat low, jaw clenched so tight I thought it might snap. And before he could even get a word out, there she was, Linda Harwood, president of the HOA, storming up her perfect little lawn in a jacket so red it practically screamed, "Power trip." Her hair was yanked back tight and high, ready for battle, eyes hard enough to chip granite. "There, Cody. That's him. That's the trespasser." She pointed at me like I'd just robbed a bank, not just tried to catch breakfast with my kid. Sheriff Rand, God bless him, he looked like a man who'd rather be anywhere else. Walked over, boots thunking on the dock. "Morning, Evan," he said, careful. "Linda says you're fishing on HOA lake frontage." I held his gaze. "This is my dock, Cody. My shoreline. You drive by it every week." Linda's mouth twisted. "That dock extends into community water. Our bylaws are clear. Your bylaws," I cut in, "don't override county plats or state water rights." Linda went red. "You know the rules. You can't just do whatever you want. This lake is governed by who?" I shot back. "By the Lake Harmony Residential Association, which I happen to lead," she said, chin lifting like she expected me to bow. Colton shifted closer, and I squeezed his shoulder. Sheriff Rand looked so tired I almost felt bad for him. "Evan, she's filed a formal complaint. Says you're ignoring community rules. Says this is regulated space." "She's wrong," I said, trying to keep my voice even. "That's how you win against people like Linda. Never let him see you mad." Linda vibrated with righteous fury. "Sheriff, he needs to vacate the water now." Rand looked at me, looked at her, looked at the mist swirling around his boots like even the lake wanted nothing to do with this mess. "Evan, maybe just step back for a minute. Let's not." "No," I said quietly. Stepping back would tell her she was right. Linda huffed. "Don't make this difficult." The lake mirrored the pale dawn, waiting. I reeled my line in slow, leaned toward the sheriff. "This isn't her lake," I said, real quiet. "She just doesn't know it yet." Cody frowned. But Linda was too busy measuring the kingdom she thought she owned, not realizing the ground she was standing on. It wasn't hers. Not really. And the story didn't start here. It started 6 months back, when we first rolled in. I remember that day clear as anything. September afternoon, golden sun flashing through lodgepole pines, my truck kicking up dust in long, lazy waves. Colton sat next to me, face pressed to the window, whispering, "It's quiet here." I said, "That's the point, son." The cabin was old, sturdy, porch facing the lake, steps groaning under my boots. After the divorce, after years of running projects across 3 states, peace felt like a luxury. I fixed up what I could, cleaned out what was left behind. The lake was alive, changing with every cloud, every wind. Sometimes a loon would call out, its voice echoing, lonely, but beautiful. Colton spent hours on the shore, skipping stones, picking up pine cones. I felt hope. Then, on the third morning, peace cracked. I heard sharp heels, actual heels, clicking across my deck. I opened the door, and there's Linda Harwood, all business. Binder hugged to her chest, and a smile that belonged on a billboard for smiling through your teeth. Mr. Mercer, welcome, she says, and it sounds more like a threat than a greeting. She flips open that binder. You're required to complete orientation for the Lake Harmony Residential Association. Dues are $600. Doc approval by Friday. Register all guests. I blinked. I just moved in. I haven't signed anything with an HOA. It's implied, she said. Ask anyone. We keep standards. Without us, this place would fall apart. I own my shoreline, I told her, and my dock. What do your dues cover? Her eyes turned hard. Community maintenance, neighborhood harmony. Harmony doesn't start with surprise fees, I said. Binder snapped shut. Everyone participates. You wouldn't want to be the neighbor who lowers the tone. Then she marched off like she'd just won a battle. Colton peeked out. Who was that? Someone who thinks she's in charge, I told him. She isn't. Later that afternoon, a truck pulled up. Hank Barlow climbed out. A tall, wiry old guy, boots worn down to nothing, holding a plate of warm cornbread. Welcome to the neighborhood, he said, voice gravelly. Figured you could use this after meeting Linda. I laughed. That obvious, huh? She's like wildfire, Hank said. When she moves your way, you feel it. Don't get caught. Most folks bend. What if I don't? I asked. Then you'll have to be ready, he said, and tipped his hat. That night, Linda's words clung to me like a burr. Everyone participates. Didn't feel like community, felt like a threat. 2 days later, I got my first violation notice. Gold trim, fancy card, $150 fine for an unauthorized dock. Hadn't even finished unpacking. Colton came out holding a bag of marshmallows, asking about a fire. We will, I said, but we've got something to handle first. That was just the match. The real fire started soon after, Saturday morning, a sharp knock. Township inspector. Complained about unpermitted shoreline work. He pointed at my dock. That thing's older than me, I said. He checked, shrugged. Nothing wrong here. But as he left, he muttered, somebody on this road really likes calling us. By noon, 2 more complaints by email, wildlife disturbance, noise violation. Monday, improper storage. Tuesday, unregistered boat. My boat hadn't touched the water, but that didn't matter. Linda's language was pressure. The next punch came for Colton. He came home, shoulders tight, eyes shining. Fishing group says I can't join. Dad doesn't follow rules. Found out Linda ran that, too. That night, sitting on the porch, wind in the pines, I felt a different kind of anger. Not the explosive kind, the cold, patient kind. I'd seen Linda types before, folks who build authority from thin air. So, I started a log. Every complaint, every car, every envelope. Photos, receipts. The engineer in me couldn't help it. Systematic, undeniable. By late October, the binder was over an inch thick. One pink and orange evening. I saw Linda at her fence, arms folded, watching. Snap, she took my picture. I didn't wave. Didn't move. Later, Hank stopped by. She ramps up till you break or bend. Most folks bend. I'm not most folks, I said. Then she picked the wrong man, Hank replied. Snow came early that year, thin flakes spinning across the lake. Another township visit, this time for light pollution. One old porch bulb. Inspector just shook his head. Someone has your address on speed dial, he said, and left. I realized this was war. She wanted to bury me in complaints. I needed to bury her in facts. And that's when the real twist landed. I dug through every corner of that cabin. Found a cardboard tube sealed with brittle tape. Inside, an original subdivision map, dated 1978. Smelled like dust and cedar. It showed developer-owned parcels, strips behind Linda's lot, the road easement, stuff that didn't match anything she'd been spouting. Suddenly, my old engineering days felt like destiny. Started hitting the county recorder's office at night. Flipped through plat books, deeds, bankruptcy files. The original developer went bust in the 90s. Parcels left in limbo, auctioned off in bundles. And those bundles? They pointed straight back to a trust, my family's trust. Mercer Holdings Trust. My grandfather had scooped up the parcels, never told a soul, just quietly protected the lake from developers. I brought all this to Mara Jensen, the sharpest property lawyer in 3 counties. She flipped through my pile, eyes lit up. Evan, you might own more than your cabin, she said. How much more? I asked. Depends what the filings say. If your trust bought those bundles, you own every strip the HOA pretends to manage. Pulse hammering in my throat, I realized. If this was true, Linda had less authority than a squirrel on the roof. The night before the emergency HOA meeting, Mara emailed, "You need to see me." She had the buyer's ledger. The name, Mercer Holdings Trust. My family. All those developer parcels. All the easements. All of it. Mine, legally, and Linda's fake HOA had never had a scrap of real authority. That meeting, oh, you should have seen it. The clubhouse was packed, neighbors nervous, Linda presiding like she was royalty. Her lawyers in black suits, violation notices stacked like ammo. She launched into her speech about community standards, but I raised a hand. Show me your legal registration. Incorporation papers. Anything. Silence. Her face paled. This is a voluntary. This is a fraud and you know it, I said, unrolling the old map, spreading the bankruptcy documents. This land never belonged to your HOA. These easements, the shorelines, the road, you never owned a thing. My grandfather's trust holds every scrap. The room went silent as winter. Neighbors shifted, shocked, angry, betrayed. Linda's lawyers whispered, but it was over. Sheriff Rand came in, took one look at the documents, and turned to Linda. "We need to talk," he said quietly. And just like that, the queen lost her crown. For the first time, folks saw the truth. She'd built her power on fiction, not law. Over the next week, the snow kept falling, and the county took over. Neighbors came forward with receipts, violation letters, check stubs. Mara assembled it all. By the end, Linda was facing fraud, restitution, and, oh, the irony, a full accounting to every single person she'd ever find. The kingdom she built crumbled overnight. Her husband left. Her SUV got towed. Her house, once a symbol of her rule, sold in a month to a family with kids and a dog. The block changed. Betty brought muffins, Hank borrowed my ladder. Colton finally got to fish without looking over his shoulder. The best part? We didn't win. We just set things right. No more fear. No more threats. I started a real, voluntary lake committee, elections, open books, actual community. On the 4th of July, standing on my dock, Colton tugged my sleeve. "Dad, did we win?" I said, "No, son. We just made it home." If you've ever had to stand your ground against someone who thought they could bend the truth, drop a simple justice in the comments so folks know they're not alone. And if you want more stories where the land speaks for itself, where backbone beats bluster, stick around. Let's talk about what justice really means. Do we ever get it right? Or is it always a fight between what's fair and what folks can get away with? Share your stories. Share your thoughts. Because out here, sometimes the quietest voices carry the longest.